Let's talk about form. I don't think it takes, the most uneducated person out there probably knows, or at least conceptualizes the idea that form in the weight room can be a good thing or a bad thing. One of the things that I would like to suggest is that we've become a little too strict in saying that form leads to, and now we fill in the blank. Years ago, we believed that improper form led to injury, right? And we would say things like, don't let your knees travel over your toes. Don't round your back in the deadlift. If you do these things, you will get hurt. Well, tragically, for many of us, our egos got shattered because we realized how wrong this was. Your knees can go over your toes. In fact, your knees should go over your toes. Your back can round in a deadlift. In fact, the strongest men and women in the world in their deadlift have rounded backs. So, what does form tell us? We need to look at this in two ways. Number one, we need to look at this in terms of an efficiency standpoint, not in terms of an injury standpoint. I'll start with the coaches. If you're saying to an athlete, if you lift a certain way, you will get hurt, you are putting unnecessary barriers for that athlete. Instead, we need to talk about things like, here's what you should do. Here is what leads to better efficiency. Efficiency just means that if myself and let's take another coach right next to me, were to both do the same movement, and my form is less than ideal, I'm not following certain standards that we know that lead to efficiency, I am going to fatigue faster, and therefore I'm not going to be able to either lift as much weight or do the same amount of reps as a coach next to me whose form is what we would say perfect or very good, which allows them to be more efficient. Same thing on an athletic field or on a court. The more efficient I am with my jump shot, the more efficient I am with my throws, with my patterns, with my passes, the easier it is going to be during that game, during that season, the less energy I expend, and so that opponent who is less efficient, they're giving more energy. What happens at the end of the game? They're going to be more fatigued than I am. So we're not looking at this in terms of a you will or you won't get hurt. Let's look at this in terms of a what's the least amount of energy I can exert, which is going to allow me to move more weight in some capacity. We can look at this from another perspective in terms of looking at individuals who have very poor form, yet seem to be very strong. And so I had a client of mine send me a video of someone they knew, and they were squatting a very impressive amount of weight. I think they were front squatting 300 plus pounds, but their form did not look good. And my client said, will this lead to injury? Or I guess better stated, they said, won't this lead to injury? And the answer is, it depends, but chances are, no, until it does. And so what do I mean by that is there's two groups of people when it comes to form breakdowns. We have the novice athlete, we have the individual who, because they haven't been exposed to what proper form looks like, any deviation in good form is going to crumble them. And so in that front squat, they lean forward too much, that bar is going to tip away from them. In that front squat, they haven't worked on good ankle, hip, and knee flexibility, and now they can't get all the way down until coach says that's a no rep, they try to go further and they fall back, right? That's our novice athlete. But what about the individual who's been exposed to that movement again and again and again at increasingly heavier weights? They can have a tremendous amount of form breakdown and still accomplish the lift. So is it that they're just more resilient to injury? Possibly. Is it that they've been exposed to this time and time again, that they've sort of developed certain patterns that fit them more? Probably. Is it saying that this individual will never be injured because just for whatever reason they're lucky? Probably not, but maybe so. So the big takeaway here is we need to stop looking at form in terms of some type of litmus test for this person will or won't get injured. It's a whole lot more complex than that. I think a lot of times we use this term, well, they're going to get injured if they blank, as a way to protect our own egos. We see an individual outlifting us and we have to nitpick and say they're doing something wrong. As coaches, I think we need to be more inviting to individuals. 6% of Americans, 6%, right? 6% of Americans get the required strength and conditioning that they need in a given week. And so if we're continuing to put out there that certain movement is going to injure them, or certain training is going to injure them, we're just putting up an increased barrier for that individual to just move. So bottom line, get out there, move well, talk to your coach, look in terms of what is and what isn't efficient. Stop worrying about will this or won't this injure me. And you're going to notice you're going to experience a whole lot greater appreciation for movement, a whole lot greater appreciation for the human body.